Welcome to another episode of the 5 Bytes Podcast. I am your host, Rory Monahan. In episode 1, I discussed Meltdown and Spectre and stated that there was a lot of noise out there, so in episode 2 I purposely decided to not speak about it again to avoid adding to that noise. With this week's developments, I feel I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of great resources I discovered this week that I think will also help others, and mention the fact that unfortunately, it appears Intel's initial patch contained a bug which is causing systems to reboot randomly. Initially it was suggested this was only an issue for those older chips, and that does not appear to be the case, as newer chips are also encountering the issue. This is a big deal. Obviously you don't want random reboots occurring on very important servers in your environment. A follow-up patch is impending. This week, the great LoginVSI announced it is giving away its excellent product to organizations to allow them to do benchmark testing for Spectre and Meltdown performance impact analysis. This would be excellent to use against a sample of the machines in your environment before patching and then again after patching. I encourage you all to try this out. It could be very beneficial in your efforts to counteract the ill effects by adding more resources where you identify they are required. ArsTechnica also posted a really great article that goes in depth into why these patches will cause performance issues. I will share that link in this episode within the YouTube description and also on my site. Something I mentioned during the initial release of info on Meltdown and Spectre on my own Twitter was that I posed my own question. Does Citrix Workspace Environment Manager's performance optimization help counteract some of the ill effect? I hope to see some metrics on this in the near future. I have not seen this yet. I suspect for those who don't currently have WEM deployed in their environment, it would in fact help counter some of the performance impact, but I of course will wait to see the data before I am fully convinced. Apple was also hit with a new security vulnerability exposed this week, just a few weeks after the disk encryption key bug and the massive root password bug. This bug was exposed by Abraham Masri, a software developer who exposed the bug which affects Macs and iPhones earlier this week on his Twitter. He linked to some code on a GitHub repository, and when you sent a link to this code in a message, even if it was not clicked on by the user, it would take effect, causing Safari to crash and other slowdown problems. Abraham has taken the code down from his GitHub repo and said he will not re-upload it. He said he has made his point and that Apple should take these reports more seriously. He did report this bug to Apple, but they had yet to comment. Luckily, this isn't a huge security vulnerability, but if it did get out into the wild en masse, say via spam messaging, it would be quite the nuisance for Mac and iPhone users. Microsoft had their own woes this week. Microsoft's BitLocker ran into app compatibility issues with Fall Creator's update on Windows 10 changing a policy setting, which inadvertently causes network adapter, audio device, and pointing device issues. Microsoft's own AppV also has issues when deploying via SECM in certain scenarios on the 1709 release. And these are just a couple of the app compat issues with the release of 1709. Other products had compatibility issues during the initial release, most of which have been fixed with the November patches, like the Citrix receiver problems and the RDP stability problems, but still this does not instill great confidence in this new Microsoft OS patching methodology. Also in the news this week, the Register claims it has leaked information that Citrix will be rebranding their suite of products, removing the long-standing Zen name and going with product names such as Citrix Desktop instead of Zen Desktop. Now on to this week's hot jobs. Recently I posted a blog about application packaging dying on my site rorymon.com. I figured it would be a good week to share an application packager role. This role is with UC Davis Health Systems in Sacramento, who requires somebody with AppV, App Volumes, and Admin Studio experience, amongst other skills. Now on to script, tricks, and tips. Admittedly, this is pretty self-serving this week in a way. I am a member of the AppVirt Guru team, and this week, together with WhatMatrix, we launched an application virtualization product comparison on their site. With this tool, you could do a side-by-side feature comparison of the most widely used AppVirt products on the market. You can also export this to PDF if you'd like to print out a report. Many new powerful features will be added soon to make this platform even better, so keep an eye out for that. As always, thank you so much for listening.